On this edition of In the Gun, it's time to kick off a new season of WVU football. We have got your RMU preview. We've got an exciting sponsorship to announce, and we got to talk some more about Big O and this Runaway Beer Truck and beer. All that and more on this edition of ITG.
Caution, this podcast contains bad jokes, optimism, and a healthy disdain for Pat Narduzzi. Watching it may increase your actual knowledge of actual football.
ITG.
All the pieces are in place for us to have a chance to win it all.
And we're the three best friends that anybody could have.
There's Owen Schmitt in the building.
Like a runaway beer truck down the sidelines.
So where's he in? He in there, Jed Drenning?
I'm not much of an athlete.
The thing that's non-negotiable is playing hard and playing tough.
And Wesley, Valen, Uhler. You are in the gun.
Once you enter this family, there's no getting out.
In the Gun, episode 264 of your new favorite WVU football podcast. I am Wes Uhler, flanked by the whole gang, the best teammates in the business. We have got the co-host slash producer slash Mr. Do-It-All, Schuyler Callihan, the signal caller. You'll see him roaming the sidelines beginning Saturday against Robert Morris. Of course, I'm talking about Jed Drenning, and the barbecue and beer trucking extraordinaire himself, Big Owen Schmitt. And as always, this episode brought to you in part by a group of lovely people. Bet online, the game starts here. Of course, our friends at Toothman Ford, JR, and all the good people there at Team Toothman. We all know cars cost less in Grafton. Make sure you're getting to Grafton for all of your vehicular needs. Our friends at Fortis, our good buddy Rick Lewis. We've got some exciting news coming down the line with Fortis here pretty soon. For roof performance and financial certainty guaranteed, you got to visit fortis.us.com. To Johnston Equipment as well, too. Make sure you're checking out their location on Route 33 between Weston and Buchanan. Big shout out to everybody at Johnston Equipment. I know they're geared up and excited for another WVU football season here. And gentlemen, it's the news we've been teasing. It's the news we've been waiting for that is now official. Ladies and gentlemen, you can welcome to the ITG family a Morgantown staple. The Book Exchange is now one of our partners here on In the Gun. Guys, we did it. I mean, look at our plethora of different sponsorships. And Owen, I want to start with you. This is pretty cool. The Book Exchange. I mean, they are synonymous with merchandise in Morgantown. Your jerseys have been hanging and sold in the Book Exchange in years past. Like this is truly a Morgantown staple here that we are very excited to partner up with.
Yeah, like you said, this we've hit the big time. All right, this is the big one, and this makes us official, right? We're hometowning it now. We're local. We're on board. They hooked us up, right? They're giving us a couple some swag to show off and pump. So hey,
giveaways as well
too. You can't get any
too.
better than the Book Exchange.
Look,
No,
I know
certainly
I
can't.
only get to get up to Morgantown maybe once or twice a season, but my wife and she's not gonna probably like me saying this, but she hates the mornings of game days because I'll go and spend about an hour and a half to 2 hours in the Book Exchange every single Saturday. She knows it's going to happen. She can't get out of it. So it's a really cool place. A lot of stuff. Go check it out for sure.
It's, of course, I would imagine we're preaching to the choir with a lot of our listeners with this, but it's a mesmerizing place, Sky. Just to your point, it's difficult to get in and out. There's no running to the Book Exchange for 5 minutes to grab something and going. And then you see, we were in there a couple of weeks ago, and I think my wife has mentioned how much I spent there every day since we were there a couple of weeks ago. But I was even my wife's all about the clearance rack. And I was like, well, come on, there's a clearance rack back here. You love the clearance rack, right? She's all about the clearance rack. And so I even got something off the clearance rack. And I said, there, you should be happy. Part of what I got was off the clearance rack. But it's something else. Good people. It doesn't get not only more Morgantown than the Book Exchange, but even those that run the Book Exchange, right? I mean, even those in charge of it are literally Morgantown through and through.
Mm-hmm.
So it's an exciting partnership. And look, I like to brag to people all the time. We're somewhat selective You don't just throw money at us and we jump at it and we're partners with you and we go into business together. That's not the case. That's really not the case. At the end of the day, we've done this long enough. I've been in business long enough to know that's just not worth it. It's just not worth it. If you can't forge a genuine relationship with your business partners and understand what they're all about and they understand what you're all about. And we've been so blessed from J.R. Toothman and Toothman Ford, Rick Lewis at Fortis, and Tim Johnston and Johnston Equipment. Those are three businesses that satisfy, check every box I just mentioned. And I believe the book exchange is as well. So that's, to be honest with you, that's what excites me the most. It's always nice to bring on another partner and try and help them grow their brand. But at the same time, it's exciting to find another partner that fits. And that's what we're all about. I mean, it's just life's too short to be dealing with people that you're not a good fit for.
No
And
doubt.
we're very fortunate on this program, on this podcast, to have found three, now four, that I believe are good fits.
Completely agree. I think we all can relate to this. Like I was joking with my wife as we were kind of, going back and forth with Dave and setting all this stuff up with the book exchange. Like I think other than Giant Eagle and Target, the book exchange is probably the store that I've spent the most money in my lifetime. So yeah, it's outstanding. Everything you just said there is spot on, Jed. The book exchange also has a partnership with the Final Forecast, the podcast that Kevin Jones and John Flowers and all the basketball guys do. So maybe some fun crossover stuff we could do there with them as well too when we get into basketball season and things like that. So we are certainly fired up about this. We have got we're just kind of announcing it now, but we're going to have some giveaways, some different promotions, all kind of stuff that we're going to be doing with the book exchange. Get all your Mountaineer gear and WVU apparel at the book exchange. They're locally owned and operated retailer with more than 90 years of selling everything you need for game day and everything else you need to show you're the ultimate WVU fan. Shop their two locations, downtown in Morgantown. That's the one right there by Towers in the football stadium, or Evansdale, or pardon me, sorry. No, I got that backwards. Downtown is the one that's downtown towards the top of High Street, or Evansdale on Patterson Drive. Of course, they're close to the stadium, right in front of Towers on the main drag. Or, of course, you can always shop online at bookexchangewv.com. Fired up about that one. Like we said, Jed is going to have a little bit more on trivia question and some things that we're doing with the book exchange in just a few minutes. But we also, gentlemen here, we're cracking open, if you will, as I hope that natural sound pop came through on the microphone.
Yeah. That was nice and
Sky's
crisp.
going to add the sound. That's
No,
right.
I heard it.
If you're watching on YouTube here, I got a little Runaway Beer Truck that I'm sipping on down the sideline. Beautiful can here. Incredible American light lager with a hint of lime. It's exactly what you're looking to drink when you're out in the sunshine in Morgantown on a football game day. Big O, well done, dude. Fantastic beer. And just seeing your image and likeness here on the front of a beer can just feels right, brother. Like this is long overdue.
It is long overdue, and like most things, I'm usually late to the game, but timing is everything. When Jed came, to me about this idea about the podcast, who would ever thought we were here, and just these things have been happening. We hit the book exchange. We have Fortis, we have Toothman. I've had some people reach out for me from outside sources at Berkeley Springs. um, to do a collaboration. I co-formulated this beer with them. I think it's absolutely built for game day. Stop out at the tailgate this Saturday, right? Hey, old Daddy Head, WV Daddy Head, and ITG flag in the Peach Lot, Wes Uhler's Hangout. Okay, we're gonna have plenty of fresh coldies. Okay, come by, stop and enjoy one.
I got to say though, I thought it was hilarious when Wes pointed out the ball
Thank you.
kind of
Thank you.
not much ball security there by
Hey,
It is. I
Big
mean,
O.
come on,
Hey,
Big O.
group
You're holding
chat.
that thing like a loaf of
Hey.
bread, brother. What are we doing
In the
here?
group chat,
Listen.
that's the first comment Wes had. I don't know about that ball
Hey,
security. We
hey,
texted us
AI doesn't understand ball security yet. Okay.
True.
There's no 3
Listen.
points on that, right?
Yeah, I got the mid forearm.
Hey, I think you're selling Saturday short, Big O. I mean, you just kind of
Okay.
mentioned that in passing. I mean, let's review what's
Okay.
exactly playing out here in the peach
Okay.
lot under the ITG flag. We
Yes, you
some of
will.
you have been there before to Wes's tailgate. Well, Owen is going to be just probably at every game this year, right, Owen?
Yep.
That's your plan, your intention.
Yeah, I'll be there every game this year. I will be hanging out with Wes. He's the headquarters. So
Yeah, the
like
games he's at. Yeah,
Oh, stop.
yeah, yeah, he's the
Listen,
but he's going
headquarters.
to be.
So
There's going to be beer. There's going to be
there's gonna be
probably a little
fresh
bit of
cold
food.
beer. There's gonna
Yeah,
be some sort of barbecue for that flavor of the week. And a lot of great friends and people come out and join us for the celebration, the rebirth of Mountaineer football, okay, and the announcement of ITG, right, the book exchange, the
oh yeah.
beautiful show that we have created. Come on out and enjoy a fresh
get some
cold
runaway beer
runaway beer.
truck with the runaway beer truck beer with the runaway beer truck. Get your picture taken
Yes.
with
You,
Owen
you
and
can't
Wes.
you can't go to Rich Rod's debut and not have a runaway beer while you're there
No, you
with
can't.
Owen
Great
Schmitt
point.
in the tailgate.
I will
Like, come
even
on.
say this, guys. Hey, you know how Wisconsin fourth quarter jump around?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Okay. Hey, West Virginia fourth quarter cracking coldy. This is going to power us through the rest of the game, baby. Okay. We need the
Now we're
whole
talking.
stadium cracking one of these.
Yes,
perfect.
so that is in the Peach Lot. For those who are unfamiliar, it is close to the Ronald McDonald House, close to the new IHOP that's built there, kind of right beside the Blue Lot,
Press
down the
box side,
hill,
right?
down the hill from the WVU press box on the press box side. And like Owen said, I have a huge flagpole. We fly 2 flags. The one is a white Grateful Dead symbol, but instead of the lightning bolt, it's the flying WV. So it's like the Grateful Dead logo, but it's repurposed for WVU. And then there is an ITG flag, our ITG logo that you see all on social media. You can see it behind Jed right now if you're watching on YouTube. Look for those 2 flags. I'll tweet out a picture and all that stuff too on my account at Wesley Uhler, of course on our ITG account as well. Think about 9:30, 10ish. We'll be set up and ready to go, Big O. I mean, that's a little bit later than I would like, but I'm bringing my 2 young daughters with me to this first
Me
Robert
too.
Morris game. So there's a little that's always the balance when you bring the kids, is you still want to get out there early and have a good time, but you also don't want them out for like 6 hours before the game even starts. So I'm thinking about 9:30, 10ish. We'll be rocking and rolling.
That's
Going to be a lot of
incredible.
fun. And of course, with this as well, too, we want to make sure everybody remembers we are rolling out a barbecue with the beer truck series on ITG this season. Our first episode just dropped on Monday. Really cool episode of Owen talking about how to pickle you some onions and make all your fancy onions and accoutrements for different barbecue and tacos and burgers and anything like that. So those will drop typically on Tuesdays, correct,
Yep.
Jed?
Yes, sir.
When WVU, when we're in the midst of the season, we just dropped it on Monday this week since there's no recap episode or anything like that.
Waterberg. Yeah.
But gonna be getting into. I mean, oh, and I know you'll do pulled pork and brisket and different sides and all that different stuff. So pretty cool response to the first episode, which is out there now on all of our different channels. And of course, we will keep that rolling with 12 barbecue with the beer truck episodes throughout the regular season.
Insane in the
Well,
membrane.
that's a great job. You guys did a great job of that.
Well,
We really
Jed,
did.
to be honest, after watching the first one, it was very well put together. We obviously that was our first episode. They only get better, and a lot of great content. Ethan does a great job, and Jed, I appreciate you putting me on the spot like that. I only had to cook 12 things that day, and it was well worth it.
I tell you what, I was impressed. Everybody, I mean, first of all, and I told Ethan this, it's Ethan Gregory, who I think did a great job.
He
You
did.
might know him from ITG Clips. That's our sister site where he takes clips of the show and posts them on YouTube, also on Twitter at ITG Clips. But Ethan he was the MC of the goings on there, and so he was having to carry the conversation forward as you tried to prepare. And look, I'm one of those guys. Anytime I always watch Chopped, I always thought if that host comes up and talks to me when I'm in the middle of trying to whack this meat up, and I would lose my mind. And Owen, that's what you had to do in every one of those shows was maintain your focus. Keep doing what you were doing and answer Ethan's questions. And you both carried yourself and acquitted yourself very well. And I thought it turned out pretty cool. And I'll be honest with you, I went through a post edit in all 12 of those things and added some things and this and that and the breaks or the reads. And I learned a ton. I learned a ton, not just with what I was plugging in there, but with what you were saying. I mean, some of the stuff you were talking about, I was like, how do you know this? I'm like, holy cow. I was talking about this muscle and that bone. And I was like, holy cow. But it was impressive. It was impressive. And yeah, I would highly encourage folks to tune into those. We want to run them early enough in the week. That's another reason we did it. As you said, Wes, typically they run on Tuesdays, which will give you time to watch it, get your little checklist together, grocery list,
Shopping list.
head to the grocery store, get what you need, which won't be much, come back. And if we have a home game, you can do it in the blue lot, or you can do it on your back porch, whatever you might want to do. But if we have a road game, do it at your watch party. That's what we talk about in the show. And there's some great recipes from side dishes to some of the craziest, awesome looking entree meats that you're ever going to see. It's really cool stuff, and it's a wide variety of 12 different things. So even the pickled onions, it's what went into that. I was like, wow. I mean, I found it was impossible not to edit these without getting really hungry. It really was. It really was. But well done, Big O. Well done.
Oh, Jed and I even had one of our fans reach out, and he made a great point with the pickled onions. You throw cucumbers in there, and bam, you do have a side dish now. So hey, kudos to you guys, and that's how cooking is, man. It's all about trials and errors and throwing stuff together and seeing what works. And that was a great thing. I was glad he commented on that. And hey, it's going to be a great year. We got some great recipes. Let's get into it, boys.
Well, a lot of people didn't connect the dots, Owen. Some people are wondering, like, why do you have your fullback barbecue? And yeah, of course, it's natural for a grinder to go out and jump on the grill, but people don't understand your pedigree. First of all, remember, he owned a restaurant. Let's start with that. But most people don't realize you've catered a bunch of weddings. Owen has a catering business on the side. So yeah, he's knee deep in this stuff. He's not just winging it, no pun intended. But yeah, it's really good stuff.
Hey, and I'm going to say something what you just said, and I'll have to. We'll rehash the couple's name, but I did a wedding not too long ago for a couple that were huge Mountaineer fans, and it was a beautiful wedding. It was right here in my backyard at the Pines, which is a great new venue, and they gave us the opportunity. I was only supposed to really do one day with them, which was just the reception, and then for their wedding they had somebody else who ended up backing out. So, they gave me a shot on the second day, and it all turned out great. But they were North Carolina peeps. Okay, so if look, North Carolina knows its barbecue a little bit. All right. So
a little bit.
Hey, listen, when everybody started coming to the wedding, you could see like some of the older guys come. They were like checking the rig out and like asking me questions about like this and that. Oh yeah, getting the smells.
They're very into it.
Hey, what kind of wood are you using, brother? You know what I mean? Well, hey, what kind of seasonings you got on that? You know what I mean? Yeah, they were very.
That is part of a living.
It's great stuff.
Barbecue's part of living in North Carolina, that's for sure.
Yeah, absolutely.
That's fantastic.
Yeah,
that's fantastic.
absolutely.
So, as you can see, plenty that we're excited about here. Not just obviously another Mountaineer season getting going in the start of the Rich Rod 2.0 era here in Morgantown, but we got tailgates, we got beers, we got barbecues, we have got a million things going on. We got a party, basically. We got everything you need, all right, for your game day fixins. And Jed, we've also got some pretty cool giveaways, like we mentioned.
Yep.
We're going to be doing a really cool giveaway with the book exchange. You want to lay this out for us and how we're going to kind of start this process and how everybody can get involved and try and win some really cool prizes.
Yeah, they provided us with a golden opportunity to take, well, let me amend that with an old gold opportunity to really cash in on something here. Okay. And this is an incredibly high-end, high-value item. And I'll tell you what it is. Sky's going to go ahead and post a picture. It's the official 1965 throwback helmet that you will see West Virginia wearing at some later point. But we have one available through the book exchange, thanks to our friends at the book exchange. And we were going to do a giveaway with it. And we were trying to figure out the best way to do so. So here's what we're going to do. Each week, we're going to ask a question. It's not a trivia question, so don't get scared, okay? It's nothing to trip you up. It's about the current team or the current matchup. So it's a very contemporary question about today's Mountaineers. So it's just basically asking for your thoughts. Hey, what's going to happen? And we're going to call this question each week the 1965er book exchange question. Fair enough, right?
Love it.
And here's how this is going to work. I'm going to ask the guys what they think, what's their opinion on the question in terms of how they think it'll happen. And then I want you to answer in our YouTube comment section on this episode. And each time you answer, you're allowed to do so up to 3 times per episode. If you are a subscriber to the YouTube page of ITG, you will automatically get a lottery ticket for the drawing for this helmet. And again, remember, I just said you're allowed to do it 3 times. So you can provide 3 answers. So what we want you to do when I ask the question in the comment section when you see the show, say, I agree with Wes, or I agree with Owen, or I agree with Schuyler, or I don't agree with any of them. I think this is going to be the answer. Do that 3 times. And again, we're going on the Bill Stewart honor system. When I say 3 answers, I don't mean posts that are like a single letter, right? So just say something briefly, put a post in there. We're asking for your opinion. And up to 3 times per show, you're allowed, and you'll win a lottery ticket. And we'll track that through the season. And at some point, I don't know if it'd be late at the end of the year or at some point during the year, we're going to have a drawing for this incredible helmet, which is a value of, I'd say it's over 200 some odd dollars.
I was going to
time.
say,
Oh,
a couple
yeah.
$100.
I mean,
paying for it.
These
taxes,
bad
everything
boys are
else,
like $3.99 each, I believe.
So,
So
yeah, well, it's a high value product. So
Yeah.
So thanks to the book exchange, first of all. But so we're going to ask, and I'm going to start right now with the first 1965er book exchange question.
Love it.
Are you gentlemen ready?
I hope so.
No, necessarily no wrong answers. Okay. 70 some odd new players in this game against a team that has a ton of new players. I don't remember an opener or remember a team that we knew less about or had to guess more about than this one. So here's my simple question to you. Out of the 120 players on the roster, who will get the most snaps on Saturday?
Oh, gosh. Yee.
Now,
That's a great question. That's a great question.
Before you answer, okay? Yeah, you have 120 chances, right? So before you answer, now this may or may not influence your decision. This is why I'm not answering, because I do prep work for it a little bit, right? So I asked myself, okay, at Jack State, who got the most snaps for Rich?
The center or quarterback?
Well, you had O-line, 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 DB. Okay, so DBs were way up there. Linebackers were up there. Then I asked myself, okay, was Zach's defense? Who on the defensive side at Oklahoma got the most snaps last year? Safety, linebacker, safety. So I got thoughts on it. And after you guys answer, I'll give you some thoughts. And maybe the fans will agree with me when they answer. But again, we do this to encourage you to put your answer in the comments, up to 3 answers in the comments. And each one of those answers, you will be awarded a lottery ticket to win the throwback helmet.
This is tough too, because you got to factor in if it does become a blowout.
Yes.
The starters aren't going to be in there the whole game. So
Exactly. This might be the best game in the history of Mountaineer football to ask this question.
Seriously.
This is
In
tougher
the
than any
history of
Who Wants to Be a
football.
Mountaineer
You know what?
question we've
Fine.
ever had.
I'm just gonna jump in and jump on it right away. I'm gonna stick with what my first instant thought was. I'm gonna go with Landon Livingston, center.
I like it.
I mean,
That's where I was gonna go.
again, that if you guys go that way too, I'm not upset. But like that, I think that's just
like
a well-educated guess at this point.
I'm ditto
like
on
it.
that, Wes. 100%.
I would
Just
have.
makes too much sense.
I was going to go Landon too, but I'll make it a little fun here.
We got to get a mention of one guy. I want his name mentioned.
I'm going to go with Fred Perry.
Ooh, that's a good one. That's a
Okay.
good one.
Okay. Now, let me add my 2 cents. I was really hoping we'd get a Walter Youngbear mention there. I really was.
He was my
I thought
second.
about
He
it.
was my second pick.
But here's my thinking on this. If this game goes the way we want, even though by the nature of Rich's offense, the defense typically faces a ton of snaps.
Mm-hmm.
We hope not. That's not the case in this game.
Yeah.
This is one of the few games where you would expect a lower snap count for the opposing offense. So I might have guessed offense because of that. But we want to hear from you. We want to hear from you. Is Schuyler right? Are Wes and Owen right? Or are both of them wrong? And you add your own pick. But you've got 3 chances to try and get it right for fun's sake. But the beauty of it, just by participating, you get a chance to win the official throwback helmet. So please do so. Comment on YouTube. If you're our listening audience, jump on YouTube real fast. And again, if you're already subscribed, easy peasy. You're already entered with each comment, up to 3. But if you're not subscribed, it can't be any easier than it is. It's like down in the corner. I'm trying to think of where I'm pointing right here. If you're watching the show down in the corner, you see that YouTube or that subscribe button down in this corner down here. If I'm pointing the right way, I might be backwards. I don't know. It's right in the corner. Just click it and you'll see subscribe. That's all you got to do. It's really easy.
And it's
our
free.
audience is incredible. We were so goofy and dumb that for a couple of years we didn't even ask you to subscribe. And when you know it, as soon as we started asking, boom, everybody subscribed.
We
got
just
the best
throw these
listeners and viewers.
throw these videos up on here. They had
They'll
no
do their
bells and
part.
whistles, no thumbnails.
They don't
no
need
nothing.
instructions.
God bless
Which
Schuyler
kind?
for dressing us up a little bit.
Yes. Yeah, those
Look,
first 60
I'll give
episodes
one
were a
more.
different animal.
This won't be my pick because I'll stick with Fred Perry, but maybe I help the fans out here with and maybe a wild card. Maybe Malik Agbo, because he's going to get some reps, you would think, on the offensive line.
Very interesting.
And
Very interesting.
you know what he did at his previous school by kind of playing that.
Well, let's hope he's not doing that.
Right. Let's hope he's not.
Playing tight end too, yeah.
But there could be, I think, some situations if they get like goal line or short yardage, they might try to sneak another tackle on the field. So,
yeah, for those who don't know, what Schuyler's referring to is at Texas, he was kind of the Longhorns version of Nick Malone. You know how he'd slap another jersey on Nick Malone to be a third tight end in some situations, short yardage situations. Malik Agbo did that. But that's a great point, Schuyler. He could be logging a bunch of reps if the game flows the way we hope. But so that's going to be a fun segment we do each week. Next week question might be wildly different than that one, but it won't be something that tests your memory or anything like that. It's a whole different animal. It's all about engagement, and the entire purpose of doing this is to get fans and listeners to respond and take part with those answers in the comments section, so you get to enter the drawing. And why would you want to limit yourself? Because here's the thing: we got 12 games. If we do this all the way through the season, we don't know if we will or not, but you have 3 per game. You're only going to have 36 for the year. So if you're not doing it now, because you're allowed to do it through game weekend. That's what we're going to say. You can't come later in the year and go back on this episode. Through game weekend, we're good. We'll count them at the end of game weekend. So even if it's the day after, I don't care. I'm not paying that close of attention. But you only have like 36 opportunities for lottery tickets. It's like the NBA draft, right? I mean, it's
so
like
really,
you want to maximize those opportunities, and the more you got, the better your chance. So if you're competing against somebody who's starting this week with their 3 lottery tickets, and you don't start the week before, come on, get on board, man. Yeah, you always have a chance because even one might win, but.
So really what Jed is saying is you that are watching this episode, you're loyal listeners because you're here for week 1, not people that are going to be showing up week 2, week 7, week 8. So you're going to have a leg up on those people that are going to be strolling in late.
Do. You absolutely do. Well said.
That is fantastic. Yeah, a lot that we're excited about here, if you can't tell. But get those predictions in, get yourself a chance to win an authentic throwback helmet, which is going to be pretty stinking cool. I might shed a tear when we give that thing away because I'm going to want it myself so bad. But I'll be very excited to see it go to one of our loyal listeners. So As you can see, I mean, we're like smiling through the camera and the microphone here with all this fun stuff that we have going on. It is time to get to a break, but when we come back on the other side, like Jed said, perhaps one of the great unknown season openers that awaits us Saturday, 2 o'clock at Milan Puskar Stadium at Mountaineer Field when the Robert Morris Colonials take the short trip down 79 to come to Morgantown from Moon Township, Pennsylvania. We'll get into all of that when we return on the other side. You are in the gun.
For nearly 20 years, Fortis has been the nation's leader in providing guaranteed roof performance programs for commercial buildings. Fortis offers roof performance solutions that feature extensive initial and ongoing reconditioning for commercial buildings as an alternative to traditional replacement, with long-term performance guarantees that are backed by global leader Lloyd's of London. Fortis offers a comprehensive range of roof performance management programs that provide financial security, extend the life of our customers' roofs, and make a significant impact on ROI. Fortis is currently improving performance and increasing ROI for customers at more than 4,800 locations, with more than 140 million square feet protected, including many Fortune 500 companies that have turned to Fortis to save money, gain financial certainty, and extend the life of their existing roofs. Fortis has helped customers save more than $520 million in capital roof replacement costs for an average ROI of over 250%. To learn more, visit fortis.us.com. Fortis, roof performance and financial certainty guaranteed.
Nobody supports the blue and gold Mountaineers like Toothman Ford. With over 20 NIL deals and counting, Toothman Ford continues to rally behind our student athletes. And it's time we rally and support the dealer that supports the Mountaineers. Not only does Toothman Ford offer the best prices in the state on pre-owned, their never over MSRP campaign on new Fords guaranteed to save you thousands. Drive with pride all season long, knowing you're supporting the dealer that fuels our Mountaineers. Toothman Ford, where cars cost less, in Grafton and at toothmanford.com.
You're listening to Mountaineer Football Talk.
ITG. When the sun's just rising and the work won't wait, you need the equipment that works just as hard as you do. Johnson Equipment delivers power, performance, and reliability day in, day out. Whether you're plowing fields, hauling loads, or planting the future, our tractors are built to take it and then some. Strong, reliable, ready. 0% financing available for up to 84 months on select models.
Johnson Equipment, farming made easy.
Get all your Mountaineer gear and WVU apparel at the Book Exchange. They're the locally owned and operated retailer with more than 90 years of selling everything you need for game day and everything else you need to show you're the ultimate WVU fan. Shop at their 2 locations in downtown Morgantown or Evansdale on Pattison Drive, or online at bookexchangewv.com. Back in the gun here as we roll along, and we are getting ready for another season. And it is, guys, like I know we've said this earlier. I know we've said this on previous episodes. It's a very unique entrance to a new WVU season. One, because of the return of Rich Rodriguez, all the anticipation around that. 2, because of, as Jed mentioned, 70-some plus, 74, I think was the most recent number that I saw. You guys could correct me if I'm wrong on that, but new players on this roster.
I think Rich said 79 on Monday, so I think it inflated.
He said 79 on his presser, yeah. I don't know if he
it'll be 83 by the time we kick off on Saturday, okay?
Hey, if we go 12-0, it'll be 120 20 years from now.
That's exactly.
Yeah, that's right.
With 349 new players, Rich Rodriguez
right,
navigated an undefeated season in 2025. So much unknown about the roster. The return of a coach that we're familiar with, but it's also been a long time since he's been here, 16 years, I think, right? There is just so much to be intrigued about going into this season. So much unknown, so much anticipation to kind of kick that ball off and start getting answers to so many of the questions that we've been asking. Jed, I think it's safe to say, I don't want to speak for Schuyler and for Big O, but I think it's safe to say that you might have more of those answers than we do. I don't know if that's the right way to put it, but like, where does this... Typically, when we do a preview episode, right, I'll ask you about is it with the offense? Is it with the defense? What's this quarterback have to do? Kind of try and tee you up. But, like, where do we start, or at least try to start, with a Robert Morris preview?
Well, I did my TV hit for Rich's show, first one of the year, tonight. and we were discussing some of those same things. And it struck me that, look, every time you play a lower level school, if you're a power conference school or even an FBS school, and you're playing an FCS school, an FCS level school, you have to respect and appreciate the fact that irrespective who that FCS opponent is, they're going to come in hungry with something to prove. And for most of those kids on that opposing roster, it's literally the biggest game of their football lives. It's the only time, maybe in a lot of their lives, they'll get to play, in that kind of environment. So, and they want to show, hey, I should have been recruited by these bigger schools. I should have had this. I should have had that. So they inherently have a chip on their shoulder and they have something to prove. But I bring that up because this circumstance, as much as any as I've ever seen, West Virginia might be the 38.5 point favorite. West Virginia might be the power conference school. West Virginia might be the homestanding team looking to get amped up and take care of business against a smaller school. But despite all that, I feel West Virginia in this rare instance truly has as much to prove as the FCS school. Yeah. Again, because of the very unique nature.
Great point.
Of how this has all come together. So many of these things are unprecedented because of the modern game and all the changes that are attendant to the modern game. You literally, let's talk about that. 70 some new kids on the team. A year ago, Rich had 60 some new kids at Jax. Look, 5 minutes ago, you weren't allowed to add more than 25 scholarships to your team per year. That was the rule. That was just like not long ago, a few years ago. You couldn't add more than 25 on scholarship per year by hook or by crook. And now we're talking about adding 70 some, 3 years worth of players in the old rules. So because of those things, the nature of this is profoundly unique. And you just truly don't know what you're going to get, which is why I defer to what I said. I think West Virginia, in this incredibly unique and special instance, has as much to prove as Robert Morris does. And in many respects, Robert Morris, and we'll get into a little bit of from a personnel standpoint and what they do, but they're almost like the FCS version of West Virginia. And that breeds even a different level of uncertainty when you're trying to prepare for them. They have a ton of new players. It's difficult to find more than 1 or 2 starters on each side of the ball for Robert Morris. Everybody's afflicted by this. Okay, the difference is West Virginia is in transition. We have a new staff, and I think the new normal is going to be every team in America is going to have a ton of turnover every year, no matter what their coaching situation is. But when you have a new coach, you're throwing jet fuel onto that, and there's going to be even more new players. Now, I'm not saying it's going to be 70 some new kids, but it's not going to be 30. Anytime you get a new coach, you're going to have a ton of new kids. Now, what's unusual about Robert Morris, they don't have a new coach. They have a head coach who's entering his 8th year, and he's still dealing with something similar, this level of attrition. And he's had to replace that much production. So the difference would be from a staff standpoint, there's a little more continuity, even though that's strange to say for a Robert Morris team that has new coordinators on both sides of the ball, at least by title. One of them was already on staff and promoted internally, was pass game coordinator previously, but there's with West Virginia, it's wholesale. It's the staff, it's the roster, it's everywhere. With Robert Morris, it's almost that, but there's a little continuity on the coaching staff. So I would start with that. It's more so than the X's and the O's, just the fact that we have nothing on film. Everybody in the world is questioning how this is going to work out. So eager and willing to look past the fact that, look, it's untested. Rich did this before, yes, but that's a different environment, a different setting, a different level. But he's done it before. I don't know what that means. I don't know if that means you hit on the right kids again and you can replicate some level of success with this many new faces like he did at Jack State. I'm not saying that at all. I had this conversation with a friend, Owen, a couple of days ago, and he said, "What would shock you about this season?" Right? And I see that's a big word. That's a big word. I might use the word surprise, but under the current circumstances, look, to me, to be shocked by something, good or bad, it means that you had expectations on some level based on certain things. This is just a profound amount of uncertainty. The only thing we're certain of is Rich's track record at large.
Mm-hmm.
This specific team, we know nothing about.
Yeah.
We know individually what they did here and what they did there, but in terms of coming together as a team and crystallizing and doing that together and developing some level of symmetry and adopting his culture and truly having the hard edge that he demands, we don't know yet. We haven't seen it. So how could you be shocked by anything? How could you be shocked by a certain amount of wins or a certain amount of losses? I don't know how you could be shocked. I really don't. And if you're sitting there saying, well, we'll be lucky to do this, or man, I hope we don't do that, I have no idea. And until we put something on tape, and I've always said every opponent you play between the lines matters. If you don't think you can get something out of an FCS game, you just don't know football well enough. You just don't know it well enough. We talked about that when Kansas was rebuilding under Lance Leipold. Remember that, Owen? A few years ago when they started blowing these FCS opponents away, and everybody's, oh, that's just Nickel State. We're like, yeah, but all of a sudden Kansas is doing to Nickel State what good teams do to Nickel State, not what Kansas does to Nickel. Every opponent matters. So we're going to have a different conversation when we have the massive overreaction that everybody's going to have after the first game. A different conversation next week than we are right now. I mean, we'll start with that.
Yeah, I think one of the big things, sorry, Sky,
No,
one of the
good.
big things I'm thinking of, and you're saying just obviously what can we think, what are we going to understand? There's nothing really to understand. Look at the depth chart. There's 7 quarterbacks listed as possible, you know what I mean?
Or.
You know what I mean?
That dude is showing out, man. He's all over the place.
Sprinkle in there.
So, shit.
Yeah. And I think there is just it's going to be overwhelming. I'm like overwhelmed just by wanting Saturday to get here so I can just see, like, everybody's just in anticipation. Hey, we know what his track record is. At least are we going to be able to see what he's really about? The hard edge, the conditioning, the mental toughness, the attention to detail, right? Those are things we can, I guess, maybe count on, right? Maybe just a little bit, but at the same time, you had what is it? 2 months, 3 months, after the change, 3 months? Is it 3 months? Yeah, 3 months to completely change your roster, right, and prepare for a season. So it's wild to even really fathom, what's going to happen Saturday. Like I said, hey, as long as we between the whistles play ball, that's my expectation.
To kind of go off that optimism thing too, like it's crazy to think because it seems like it was forever ago that Rich was actually named the head coach. We hopped on the show with Pat McAfee and all that stuff. That was a fun night, obviously, but you go back to those days when we got Pat on the show and our minds are racing. We're thinking like, oh my gosh, what's Jaheim White going to look like in the offense? Well, is he going to still have Jaheim White here? And then now here we are just a couple of days away from it. And it's like, there's so much hope and optimism. I don't remember ever going into a season, maybe since Rich has been here, and I'm talking even the Geno days, the Will Grier days, like those were highly anticipated seasons, but there's just so much unknown about this team that you can literally think the sky is the limit because you know his track record, and we haven't had this type of energy around the program in such a long time. And you're allowed to have that optimism up until kickoff, and then we'll kind of react from there. But the other part I wanted to mention too, which Jed was bringing up with all these new players, every time an FCS opponent stumbles in here, you kind of like you're excited, but at the same time you're like, cool. I hope this isn't the time where it finally falls the other way and you lose. There's some FCS teams that come in here and have been better, in my opinion, than Robert Morris, with all due respect, but I think with this group in particular, I don't really think you even have to worry about, like, are these guys going to be focused? Are they going to be dialed in? Because you look at this roster, it's pretty senior laden. Like, there's a lot of 4th, 5th, 6th, even 7th year guys. This is it for them. Like, they've got 12 opportunities guaranteed. They can't waste any single plays, any single series, any game. They are going to be focused. I don't think that is going to be an issue at all. I think it's just going to go out there and just trying to figure out who you're going to be.
It's a great point. It's a great point. And I tell you what, it's a pretty good time to have what, guys, the first time in 5 years, 6 years that WVU's not opening with a Power 5, now Power 4 opponent. So it kind of, am I right in that? Like, has it been since before COVID was the last time that we opened a season?
Yeah, COVID was Eastern Kentucky, which was weird, but you're right. You have to go past that.
Then,
you're not counting COVID. Yeah.
Yeah, since
JMU.
then, right, it was, JMU, Neil's
which
first
hadn't
year.
made the leap yet. Yeah. You know what I'm saying?
Correct. But then
I think was that the year they leaped or the year before they leaped? Either way.
Yeah. Either way, yeah. But even, you know what? Even in 2018 as well, too. Dana's last year, you opened with Tennessee
Vautech.
in
2017, yeah. 2017 was
Vautech.
Oh, yeah.
18 was Tennessee, and then there was a little bit of a break there.
Was Missouri.
16 was Missouri, and then after COVID, you had Maryland, Pitt, Penn State, right? Am I forgetting somebody in there as well, too, or was that the run?
It runs together.
It all does, right? I might be forgetting. I might be forgetting one game in there, but everybody gets my point. Is that, like, I think it's a pretty good time to finally have that first game be an FCS game for WVU in what seems like a really stinking long time. Because you got a lot to figure out too, man, and like. Obviously you're not looking ahead, but like Ohio is coming off their best season in program history. That game's going to be a little bit of a challenge, certainly on the road. And then the biggest game of the year in week 3 against Pitt. Like, I would imagine they want to find themselves out pretty quickly. And we all know, while Rich has experience doing this, right, Jed, and had a massive overhaul at Jack State last year, the start wasn't what they wanted it to be at the beginning of that year. It was an 0-3 start before they really figured things out and got humming. I wonder if, obviously, like, that is something that Rich has learned from, and what worked and what didn't last year, and what was able to make that switch flip for them in the right direction after such a huge overhaul. That's something that I'm sure they're trying to push that timeline up as quick as possible.
And Tyler Huff, his quarterback, I mean, I think he was kind of emblematic of what was going on with that team last year at Jack State at large. You had 60-some new faces. You talked about the difficult start, the 0-3 start. Now, the schedule contributed to that to some degree. It was a good Coastal team, but they shouldn't have got blown out by that good Coastal team. Louisville was probably going to beat them either way. Eastern Michigan is a game they should have won. So there's your 0-3 start. But meanwhile, Tyler Huff, his quarterback, who ended up being the Conference USA MVP, didn't enter the season as a starter. Now, remember, this guy transferred from Furman after the spring. He wasn't even on campus yet. So when you're looking at, okay, what's more difficult, what's less difficult, what's as difficult, if you're comparing and contrasting, okay, Rich has a track record. He's at least done this once before in this modern era of craziness with roster turnover, 60-some new kids at Jack State. Well, one of the biggest differences, I believe he probably had more new faces, as many new faces as we've had since the spring. We added a ton of kids since the spring. He probably added more post-spring last year at Jack State than this year. But, and he talks about, in Rich's presser, he talked about, like, look, you want to have fun, play well. Playing well means you win and you have fun. And you know what? That's often true, but that's also what makes Rich rich. Look, let's start with this. Losing is miserable. It's wretched. I don't need to describe it. Of course, I'm not even going to go into that. But winning, it's always preferable, but it's not always fun. Like, I remember some circumstances, and Owen, I'm sure you know where I'm going with this. We had a road game my senior year at Glenville. We won 40-something-7. That was one of the longest trips home we ever had. I mean, and that first couple of days of practice the next week, he did not want us feeling like we did anything. I'm like, wow, do you think the score was reversed? That's what it felt like. So he's going to be very demanding, but he does at the end of the day want you to have fun. That's your reward for the craziness that he's going to put you through. And these guys are about to experience for the first time what Owen and I know and know well. And that is, you've persevered. The craziness is now by and large behind you. You still have, as we tape on Wednesday, you're probably going to be in Shells Thursday. You got to walk through Friday. You're almost out of the woods. There's still some ass chewings to go between now and Saturday. But you're almost there. The end is in sight. But let me tell you something. When you walk onto that field and the ball's teed up at 2 o'clock, at 2:01 and 2:11 and 2:21 and 3 o'clock and 4 o'clock, it's going to feel like the easiest thing you ever did. And not because of who you're playing. I'm not out to diss Robert Morris. That's not my point. my larger point is once you survive what you're subjected to through camp, through practice, through preparation, through meetings, the donut comes off the bat. And that's the way it should be.
Yeah.
You're really knocking the donuts off the bat and you're swinging freely and it feels great. And when it goes well and it starts to even remotely go according to plan, there's no better feeling in the world. You're liberated. It's fun. It's exciting. It's everything. These guys don't know what they're in for if they make it go well. There's a payoff at the end of this. And that's where you start. A lot of these things early on are about, I use the term proof of concept. And what I'm getting at is when you have a new staff and a new system and a new way of doing business, the kids kind of sort of buy in, right? And on some level, they're forced to. But it's not until they actually start to see it work and forge results on the field. Are you having success? Is the proof of concept there? Is there proof that what you're putting them through, what you're subjecting them to, is really the fruits of labor discussion? Is there a light at the end of the tunnel that's worth it? And once you start playing real games, that's when you start to realize, yeah, absolutely. And that's really the only way you can explain that to them. It's you have to go through it. You have to go through Rich's practices, his camp, his process, then go through a game. And Owen, you know what I'm saying? That's when you start to get it. Oh, okay. And it starts to click. That's what this craziness was for. I see what he's up to, right?
Yeah, Travis Trickett said it, it's a 90-10 split. 90% of it's going to be hell,
yes,
10% of it's going to be heaven. And the whole, Jed, I'll regurgitate sort of like what you said and try to hit on new points. It's all about maximum stress and putting the player in the most like insane environment ever where he has to think about all the situations and he has to be detailed and he has to be right on point and this and that and this and that, because when the game comes, it's not going to be like that. There's going to be, hey, we're on offense. Okay. Hey, we're on offense. Enjoy. Hey, but still be in the game. You better be on the sideline. You better be watching what's going on. But it's not, 14 coaches yelling down your throat like,
That's right.
It's not complete chaos. It's now controlled chaos on Saturday. And
absolutely,
it's the first game. I'm tired of beating up on my brother for the last month. I'm ready to hit somebody else. Uncork it. That's the whole point. I mean, I can't tell you, when I was at West Virginia, we had more. That was we had fights, not all the time, but we would sometimes there would be brawls in practice.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
I mean,
then
they pull us back, and it was like Rich knew. Okay, let's hey, they're I think they're ready. They're just let's kind of like dump let's drop it down a couple notches so we're ready for Saturday. But it's all about the chaotic infrastructure and putting people in maximum like craziness. It's got to be mass hysteria during practice. It's got to be so dysfunctional and chaotic so that when the game comes, it's structured. It's structured by the officials. You have, Rich always hits on TV timeouts. Those are things that are implemented inside of the game, but he doesn't account for in practice, so that, hey, that's another breather. I mean, you get to the fourth quarter, and I'm telling you, boys, and Jed can attest to this too, you get to the fourth quarter in some of these games, and it's like, man, I don't even know if I'm sweating right now.
Did you ever have these moments? Did you ever have these moments? Like, I can remember like yesterday, being in a game playing for Rich, and he was signaling a play in, or I'm waiting on him to signal a play in, or it's coming out of a timeout. We're not as big a hurry as we normally were. And I'm out there on the field and we're lined up and I'm looking over to the sidelines and I'm glancing at the defense and I'm like reminding myself, there were these pinch me moments. I'm in the middle of a college football game. Shouldn't I be nervous? No, this is pretty cool. This is about as laid back as I've felt in a long time. Right now, at this moment, as I'm waiting on him to signal that play in and go kick their ass with whatever play this is the most laid back. Now, practice ain't laid back. No, I don't feel like that practice. Hell no. He's always over your shoulder, like you said, moaning and complaining about something. But in the game, I remember thinking, shouldn't this feel hard? It doesn't at all. At all. I just feel so chill right now, and I'm joking with my buddies beside me. They're joking back. This is literally the fun part. The heavy lift is behind us. Now let's just go. Don't be sloppy. Execute. Take care of your business, and have more fun than you've ever had in your life. But I literally remember times before snaps. I'm walking up there, and if we weren't going on first sound, sometimes we go on one, and I'd start the cadence. Our cadence was go. See it go. I'd go, and I'm looking around thinking, man, I'm about to complete this pass to my slot, and that linebacker doesn't even know it. This is so fun. It's so easy because of what he puts us through. I'm like, it shouldn't be this easy. It shouldn't feel like that, but he makes you feel that way.
Yeah.
And there's something to that.
That's like what Zach said earlier this week on the coaches show. Like, going through the practices is going to help, especially the defense, because they're so used to going up against that style of tempo to where if they ever do face it, which they will face it against Pitt in week 3, they're not going to be surprised by it. But when they play somebody that's more slower, normal pace, they're going to be like, shit, I still got 15 seconds to get lined up here. Like, I got all dang day here. And it's the same thing, I think, offensively, which has been talked about a bunch too, but it's important, is Zach has thrown so much at this offensive line that it might be hard for the coaching staff to truly understand what they have with that offensive line too, because they're trying to figure each other out, how to play off of one another, gain that chemistry. But when they're facing 70,000 different defensive alignments up front every single day, they don't know what to expect. So when they get to the season, starting Saturday, they've already seen every single thing, and that's been talked about a bunch. But I think it's really, really important.
It is important. And Wes, if you want to, we'll talk through a little bit of personnel. We're not going to spend a lot of time on it, but there's such a degree of uncertainty. Like, we're not even sure. We think we got a beat on their starting quarterback. He started the finale last year, and he's kind of the front runner in camp. Who really knows? Because outside of him, in that quarterback room, and I bring that up because of what Schuyler just said in terms of who's going to be trying to deal with Zach Alley's craziness, right? Well, front and center is going to be this quarterback, and they got a pretty good quarterback, but he's the only guy they got with any experience. Is Zach Tanner kid. Behind him is a JC kid. So they're kind of untested behind him. They lost a lot of production at every position. They have a running back with a little experience back. They brought in a transfer from UMass, love his name, Dante Wack. But these guys, it's all new to them as well. They're all new up front. They got really one kind of sort of returning starter up front. They lost a ton of production because this was a really good offensive football team last year. I mean, they really were. You start with the fact that, again, we mentioned earlier, they jumped conferences and they jumped back into a conference that's more in keeping with some of their rivalries, like Duquesne and those teams. They're back in that league now, in that Northeastern Conference. And they had a lot of success last year, over 350 yards a game, number 2 in the country, and number 2 in the conference in passing, number 4 in rushing. They were up there in scoring. So they were productive, but they lost all those guys. They had a really good receiver. They lost just about all those guys. So Zach is dealing with a ton of uncertainty, a new play caller. He doesn't know he's going to handle it. So you kind of got to look at his background, at his pedigree, where that guy came from, what he did, mix it kind of combined with, once again, they got a coach who's been there for quite some time. He's been there for 8 years, and Bernard Clark. If that name sounds familiar, it's because it should. He was the MVP of the 1988 National Championship game. Heck of a linebacker for Jimmy Johnson at Miami. But he's been there for quite some time. He's the mainstay. He's the element of stability for that program. This is a program, it's very interesting. They only started football in 1994, and they've only had 3 head coaches. And their first head coach, now they got a pretty good one at Bernard Clark. They won 7 games last year, but he's done a pretty good job there, shorthanded. Their first coach in 1994 was Joe Walton, who used to be the head coach of the Jets. So they've gone about things the right way. It's just like everybody in college football, in this college football 2.0 that we talk about in this age of NIL and the portal, these FCS teams, these fringe FCS teams, are really afflicted by it. My buddies at the Division II level are afflicted by it. Nobody's insulated from this. It's just varying degrees of how much you deal with it and how you try and overcome it. But Zach Alley, here's going to be the trick. Priority 1, 2, and 3, win the football game. I don't give I don't care if you're playing Sisters of the Poor, Robert Morris. I don't care who you're playing. Win the football game. I would like to see us defensively get lathered up, get them behind schedule, put them in some desperate situations, and force some turnovers to make life a little easier for the offense. I'd love to see that and establish that kind of pattern and behavior so we can hopefully, emulate that moving forward when it starts to mean more and more and more each week. I'd like to get in that habit, and I want to see a lot of bodies. One of the first things I'm going to do is I'm going to be checking snap counts on Sunday. That's one of the first things I typically do anyway. I start with a D line and work my way out, but I want to check just about every position with this one, especially on the defensive side of the football. But he's not going to get too exotic. He doesn't want to show more than he has to. He wants to win the football game, and that's true of Rich and that's true of Zach. Okay, but on the defensive side, you're about to face a stiffer challenge and a more battle-tested, more veteran offense next week. But let's jump on them early. That's critical in these types of games. Then they start waiting for the other shoe to fall. You let them hang around. That's when bad things happen. That's when they start becoming believers. Oh, who knows? We might shock the world here. It's 3-0 after a quarter and a half of football or whatever the case might be. I don't know, but at some point you're going to have to make plays and separate. So why not try and do it early? And let's get as many faces on the defensive side in particular on the field. But that's what I would have to say from a matchup standpoint. There's guys I want to see. I want to see Chase Wilson flying around making plays. I want to see Braden Sider making plays. I want to see this new look D line. Some of them are holdovers. We have some new play spaces inserted there. I want to see Fred Perry. Very eager to see Fred Perry. I want to see our corners. Hopefully they can dominate and not bite on double moves. And because that's the type of thing that's going to happen. People are going to talk about, this is the last thing I'll say about their offense, our defense, and then we'll move on and start working our way to wrap up here. But people are going to say coming into a game like this, anytime you're against an FCS opponent, you got to watch for gadget plays, right? Very true. The difference being gadget plays are most effective after you, as an offense, establish patterns. And in an opener, you have no patterns.
You have none.
Okay. So right now, the gadget plays aren't based on anything Robert Morris. You're used to seeing Robert Morris do. They're more based on everything you've ever seen in the game of football you're used to seeing. Like if you see a toss sweep, you think it's toss sweep, not halfback pass, right? But there's no tendencies from Robert Morris for them to break their tendencies with a gadget play. So it would have to be old school type gadget plays. And there's always opportunities from flea flickers on down the line. There's things they can do, and you got to be on your toes for everything, as Zach was addressing this week. You absolutely do. If we can force them between the 20s to make a living, a nickel at a time, and not give up anything cheap with missed assignments. You worry about communication and openers with new faces, especially on the back end. If we can communicate efficiently, not blow any coverages, not have missed assignments, not give up anything cheap, on the defensive side, that's the version of the offensive side protecting the football with no turnovers. So that's what you want to do. Can we get out there and force them into third down situations? We talked in the past how he likes to ratchet those things up, and just don't give up big plays. Just bottle it up. And I think you're going to be effective enough and efficient enough to show them looks that maybe they can't deal with, and kind of go from there. But that's any final thoughts on the West Virginia defense against this Robert Morris offense that's with so many question marks on both sides?
Well, Jed, I liked what you said, and listen, this is something I think it was just you and I on an episode a couple weeks ago, but we talked about how one of the things that has to change over the last 5 years of the program is that turnover ratio. And we talked about how the defense, even at times when they were at their best, even at times when the defense was playing well, they still weren't quite. There wasn't the culture of takeaways that you would like to see. Yeah. And Jed, I think you had the numbers, but it was like Neil Brown over his 10 was
Neil was just
negative
under
29, right?
Well, okay. If you want the total turnover margin, Neil was minus 23. That afflicted him more than anything, and that wasn't necessarily as much on the offense because from ball security
as it is just a
we
lack
were
of forcing takeaways.
Yeah, we averaged less than 13 a year during his 6 years takeaways, and during Rich's 7 years, that was one of the biggest assets we had. We averaged 29 and a half turnovers in those seasons. And even when you look at Wes, when you look at it in conference play, because I was even recently looking at that, in the last 6 years in conference play, we only had, from a takeaway standpoint, 10, 8, 7, 10, 11, 11. Okay, so let's say that you go out, we were fortunate enough to force a bunch, a big gob of them against Robert Morris. Start with, I'll take it, 3, 4, 5. I don't care, whatever. I'll take it. But that's not going to matter as much in that final tally. But at the same time, you have to start getting in the habit of doing
It's a
that.
culture. It's a culture thing.
That's the proof of concept that I'm talking about. As these guys have been around Zach Alley, whether all spring and all summer or just all summer and through camp, and they've heard him start talking about this 3 turnovers every practice, by hook or by crook, I don't care. And they start to come out in a game and actually force some. Wow, this dude's onto something. What we're doing leads to takeaways. Let's keep doing what he says because it works. That's the proof of concept I'm talking about on the defensive side of the football. But you're exactly right. And I want him in conference play, absolutely, but I want him in every game. And you need him against Pitt, you need him against Ohio U, but you got to get in the habit of doing it against Robert Morris, and that's downstream from getting the offense off schedule. That's where turnovers happen.
Totally,
when you can get them off schedule.
Totally. And so that to me is like, I know Schuyler as our resident baseball expert will like this example here, but it's like people like you always hear that old adage that hitting is contagious in baseball, right? Like once one bat gets hot, then 2 bats get hot, then 3 bats get hot, then all of a sudden we're raking out here. It's just like that with turnovers with a defense. Like it has to. It's a cultural thing. It's not something tangible that you can reach out and touch. You can't really explain it at times. But it has to start somewhere. And game 1 is a great place. I don't care who it's against. Force multiple turnovers in game 1. Let's start there.
I would say too, a lot of that in baseball comes down to just getting the bat off your shoulder. And as a pitcher, I would have loved if every batter that stood in the box just never swung at any of my pitches, because I'd probably have a much lower career ERA. But I think that's really one of the things. If you kind of compare what we saw the last 5 or 6 years versus what we're probably going to see under Zach, is this defense is going to take their bat off the shoulders. They're going to be a little bit more opportunistic in trying to force things. And sometimes, guess what? You might whiff and you give up a big play. That's going to happen. I think Jed talked about it pretty extensively on his breakdown of Zach Alley. There's going to be some explosive plays that happen, but as he mentioned, it's not the 10, 15-yarders that they really get you going. But getting the bat off the shoulder, being more opportunistic, I think is what I really want to see in these first couple of games, especially against a team that you're going to be favored heavily against. Why not go take a shot? Try to jump the route quick. Just punch at the ball every single chance you get. Force those turnovers and get yourself more opportunities on offense, because if Rich is going to have 80, 90 cracks at it, I'm assuming he's probably going to find 6 or 7 that are going to find the end zone.
And Wes, to take that analogy one step further, hitting's contagious, turnovers can be contagious too. And Schuyler, you just talked about it. What's part of what makes hitting contagious is what? The impact it starts to have on the pitcher.
That's right.
And the offense starts to become impacted. And as they find themselves off schedule and behind the sticks more and more and more, and they know they've already turned it over with 2 or 3 poor decisions. Well, now they're worried about a 4th, and they don't come in with the same mindset that they started the game with. So that snowballs as well.
Yeah, that's detrimental to a team's confidence.
Yep. Totally. And again, it's got to start somewhere. So I want to see it start Saturday at 2:00 against Robert Morris. Those Colonials about to get the.
Wouldn't you love if the first play of the game defensively, you just see Fred Perry coming from one end, Chase Wilson from the other.
Gosh!
Boom! Ball goes up in the air, and someone just right there, ready to catch. Maybe Eddie V is right there and just runs in.
Remember the Tennessee? You remember the Tennessee game in Charlotte?
Yes, Kenny Bigelow.
Where the first play
Kenny
of the game?
Bigelow,
Yes.
first play of the game.
Guys, I can't tell if you start the game with a defensive play like that, what it does to the sidelines. That's that's top 5 most electric I've ever felt the sidelines.
Garantano was shook from that moment on.
To the stadium. I mean, think about the crowd. It's going to be a rocking crowd there, dude. If there's a big play right off the bat, that place is going to go ham.
Absolutely. Absolutely. We can all not wait. We're very excited. Obviously, as we get into the season, a lot of our game previews will be more personnel driven than this one.
Yeah.
But I think you understand why we went this route for so much unknown for both of these teams. Jed, before we wrap this thing up, you want to do a little ITG Cup, a little pick 'em here?
Well, to that second, I got one comment about the offense. It's just something to pay attention to. Okay. First of all, we haven't even mentioned the quarterbacks. We got through this without doing that. But 5 quarterbacks are being productive and making things happen. That's why Rich is talking the way he's talking. It's not coach speak. It's not. When you watch them, they're all productive. But on some level, there's varying degrees of counterproductivity too. So this is going to wash itself out. You're fortunate to have 5 guys making plays. Most people only have 2 or 3 if they're lucky. We have 5 guys making plays in their own way. So who can marginalize or mitigate mistakes? And then all of a sudden, you're in better position because of those plays those guys are making. So I'd start with that. But what's interesting about this, when you watch Robert Morris, again, a part of this is speculation and conjecture, what you almost anticipate. But I would expect a lot of single high. You don't want to go too high. I wouldn't think, because they don't want us just trying to run it down their throat, which we know we're going to do anyway. You want an extra hat near the box, or at least apex, to get him somewhere close to the box as a run defender. So I would expect a lot of single high. And I would also expect a lot of eyes on the football and zone coverage. They don't want to try and get in man matchups unless they sneak up on us and surprise us with it, because they're afraid of what might happen in those matchups for obvious reasons. So that's why I think it's a good test. It's a good test for the quarterbacks, because nothing cheap's going to come our way in man coverage. I used to love to see blitzing in man coverage. That was the cheap way to go about your business, right? Big plays are about to happen, instruments up. But with zone coverage, that's when you got to earn it. You got to nickel and dime it and take what they give you, because there's a lot of eyes on the quarterback, reading the quarterback. Think about it. When you're man coverage, everybody's in man coverage, locked on somebody as a pass catcher. They're not watching the quarterback, except maybe the free safety if they're in cover 1. But when you're in zone coverage, a lot of eyes are on the quarterback. You're dropping into your zone. You're reading him. You're trying to manipulate what's going on. So it's a test for the quarterback, it's a test for the wideouts to see how many of them have a feel for that soft spot in the zones with these routes. But it's also a test for the running backs, because like I remember Rich watching his Ole Miss game against LSU, when he just gashed the daylights out of the 13th ranked rush defense in the country. It was one of the games I studied this offseason when Rich was the OC at Ole Miss with John Rice Plumlee. And Plumlee ran for 200 and some odd yards, and they ran for 300 and some, just gashed LSU. They couldn't stop them, so they lost the game. But it struck me that these SEC teams are just so talented. All they do is go man free and bring pressure. They just blitz and bring pressure. So once you get past that first level, there is no second level. It evaporates. You just got a safety to beat. You're going to score on big play. And that's what they kept doing. Well, what you're going to see on Saturday is not so much that, as much as if you get downfield, you're going to have to earn it, which means, and this is something we have to mention, those wideouts got to block and get used to it. Owen, you know this. Those guys on the perimeter better make that a way of life, because it's not going away. You won't have a highly successful, highly productive, elite rushing attack without selfless wideouts who are grinding DB's bones yards and yards down the field. You're going to have to especially do that against zone coverage, because you can't run them off. In man coverage, you can run them off. You can't do it in zone. So the backs are going to have to make people miss in space, again, because there's a lot of eyes on the football in zone coverage. And the wideouts are going to have to block. So it's a good test for everybody. And I'm sure they'll mix things up with some more controlled zone blitzes and things like that to test the O-line's communication. Look, we got 5 guys playing together for the first time. Robert Morris would be remiss if on some level they don't test our communication up front. That's the first thing I would do. But at the same time, you don't want to do it the way you traditionally do it, by playing man on the back end and bringing a bunch of exotic pressures. They might sneak up on us with a few, but I would expect them to chop the front up, bring some zone pressures and things like that to test the O-line. But it's a good test from a scheme standpoint across the board for various reasons when you look at each position group. So I'm kind of excited to see how that plays out and what role the tight ends might play in that with these new faces. And so that's offensively, that's kind of what I'm looking at. The configuration of what I expect Robert Morris to do and the challenge that might present for each position group, and if they take care of their business.
Makes a lot of sense. Certainly makes a lot of sense. And I tell you what, it's I'm just ready to get going. Like, the speculation and the anticipation has been fun, but I'm just ready to get going, baby. Let's get to Saturday. Let's get this ball in the air. Get college football. I mean, I know we had week 0 last week, a fun one between Iowa State and Kansas State out in Dublin, right? But let's get this ball in the air Saturday. A lot of big games. Let's get to the NFL season opener on Thursday, and then we'll all just neglect our our wives and children and responsibilities and everything for the next 5 months together. It'll be glorious.
This is like one of the one few times in your life where you just kind of wish you had a little, PlayStation controller, hit simulate, and just get to kickoff.
Right.
Just simulate the next 48 hours or so.
Yeah, get there.
Exactly right. But before we get there, Jed, you want to do a little updating ITG Cup and tee off a tee up a new season here.
Tee up a new season. Yeah. For those that are longtime listeners and viewers, you know what we do throughout the course of the season. Each of us make picks. I pick who I think in the Big 12 is going to throw for the most yards as a team. Owen picks what team he thinks is going to rush for the most. Wes picks the defense he thinks will allow the fewest points, which he's looking up right now. And Schuyler, of course, picks the offense that he thinks is going to score the most. Now, the way we play this out, since it's the opening week, we're not going to do this. We'll do it next week. But if you win the week, you get to block any player of your choice from one team. So that's the little caveat of gamesmanship that we have here, which gets fun. Not necessarily now with 14 games being played, but once you get into the league play, that becomes kind of fun because it becomes more obvious who the other guy would go for, right? So we're going to start with our first picks, but first we're going to recap because I don't think enough people remember how things unfolded last year. Who won?
Don't worry, I'm editing this out.
Right? Yeah,
I'm editing this out.
You want to throw up a little video to remind everybody who won last year, Schuyler? But
he'll throw it up right now, Schuyler. If you put that in there, you're
fired. Be glitching right now. I don't know if this is working.
So okay, the way we do it for those scoring at home, if you pick the team and it is the team with the most yards, fewest points, whatever, you get 5 full points. If you pick the team that comes in second, you get 4, third is 3, and on down the line, up to the top 5. If you're outside of the top 5, you don't score. You don't deserve to. You get shut out. But that's the way we do it. So we're going to start this year. Again, I pick the team that I think is going to go throw for the most yards, the signal caller team of the week. And you going to start, you guys?
Sure.
Doesn't matter to me.
You listen. You go ahead, champion. All right. I mean, go
champ. The defending champ will start. Okay. The defending champ will start. It's like Wes. I'm that Super Bowl champ who gets to play on Thursday night, so I do get to go first, right?
You're the Philadelphia Eagles right now. Yeah, enjoy it. All right.
Right.
Enjoy it.
Okay. So I am going to go the team that will throw for the most yards, and I put way too much thought into this, which was a little, which means I don't have a chance. I'm going to go with the Cincinnati Bearcats at Arrowhead against the Nebraska Cornhuskers.
Against the Black Shirts?
Wow.
Now, a few reasons for this. Yes, the Huskers have a veteran secondary and even got a couple transfers that were starters elsewhere. But down the stretch last year, if you look at what this Husker defense from a scheme standpoint did, they struggled against Wisconsin, 292 pass yards allowed. They struggled against Boston College in the bowl, 301 yards around. Not exactly, you don't think aerial circus when you think Boston College in Wisconsin, right? I like what Brendan Sorsby did for Cincinnati last year. I really do. But the biggest reason I'm taking these guys is we so often do. Owen and I have to kind of do this, at least to some degree, with these. You're trying to figure, okay, what team's going to keep throwing enough to throw for the most yards? Because some of these games are going to be blowouts. They're playing directional schools, and they're just not going to be throwing a ball enough, I don't think, to have a chance to do that. So I'm going to go with even though the Bearcats are like 6-point dogs at Arrowhead. Did you see the end zone's paint? It looks terrible. Nebraska's barely covering the Chiefs. It looked awful. They haven't done much of that field crew. Maybe that Chef's guy back. Remember the Chef's guy? They need him back in the end zones there. But I'm gonna go with Cincinnati, guys. Long story short, Brendan Sorsby and the Bearcats to throw for the most yards.
Well, I guess that leaves me up next with the rushing team, the rushing offense, and hey,
beer truck of the week,
guys. I'm telling you right now, yes, the beer truck of the week. Okay, hey, and I'm staying home. I'm going WVU all the way. Okay, I'm starting the season off. Hey. I'm starting her off. It's going to happen. Well, and Jed, kind of like to your thought as well, I figured if we do get we're going to be trying a lot of things. I'm just thinking if we do get a lot of quarterback play in there, there's going to be occasions where plays are going to break down. Guys are going to make, they're going to think with their legs first. I'm hoping, obviously, Rich is going to establish the run. I'm sure that's what we're going to do up front. And then just like you said, as the game evolves, if it is a blowout, I see us just running the ball more throughout the game. So I'm going with our Mountaineers.
Great points all. But by the way, I realized our listening audience didn't see Schuyler's video. So I finished first with 36. Wes was 33, 30.
Oh,
All I know is it went
good
into the final
Lord.
game. It went into the final game of the season. It did. It did.
It
But
did.
Schuyler had like 3 points all year, I think. But it did. It went into the final game. Maybe
You
like
see
the
that,
final
Schuyler? He's
quarter
just
of the
throwing
final game.
shots at you. Good
Hey,
Lord.
didn't I win it the year before?
Does he not know
my
who
initial
produces
year?
this video? I mean, it's like making fun
Yeah.
of your
I'll say this,
It's like making fun of your barber while he cuts your hair.
Yeah,
Like
he wants a
Schuyler and I
celebratory
do
video. He's gonna get one. He's gonna get one.
Schuyler and I do the prop bets on Phil Steele, and Schuyler traditionally like whoops my butt on those. We come up with our debut prop bets for the game that we just kind of have fun with,
Okay.
and so Schuyler usually whoops me on the Phil Steele Friday episodes with that. But that's a great choice, great points. But remember, run the football, 25 first downs. The last couple of years, Rich is 9-0, and he has 25 first downs. That's his goal. But who's next? Who wants to go?
I'll
Go
go,
ahead,
I guess, so Wes can round us out. This was I kind of had a couple of choices here, but I'm going to go with Texas Tech here. The last two Power Four opponents Arkansas Pine Bluff has played. They gave up 70 last year to Arkansas, and they gave up 63 in I think it was 22 or 23
Oh, look
to
at
Oklahoma
you, Mr.
State.
Research.
So, and a cool thing too, I found out, which I've obviously heard of Arkansas Pine Bluff. If you look closely enough, I was like, what? This logo is like killing my eyes. If you look closely enough at the mane of the mascot, the lion, it's UAPB in its mane, and you can't really tell if you just.
Oh, that's pretty cool. I'm looking at it now.
I just learned something.
It's
Schuyler, I always thought, you know what I thought their mascot was? The Magic Dragon.
It kind of looks like one.
It
looks like the Cobra Kai logo.
Yeah, I mean, it's a sloppy looking line, but hey, it's pretty cool.
Before Wes even goes, Schuyler, I can tell you right now, you and I are doomed because we actually researched this.
Yeah,
so we're done. We're cooked. You and I are last place. Yes.
Owen, welcome to first place.
Yeah. First of all, I hope Owen wins, but go ahead, Wes.
Well,
yes,
gentlemen,
true.
Defense
Facts.
of the week. Who's going to give up the least amount of? Listen, you all said a lot of words. I'm going to take about 20 seconds here. Okay, who's going to give up the least amount of points? There's a lot of great picks here. There's a lot of Big 12 teams that are playing lesser lights and things like that. I'm going WVU. All right, because I've very rarely been able to pick the Mountaineers here as defense of the week. I'm hoping we're going to get back to that culture of defense, that culture of takeaways, that culture of 21 points is enough to win, right? I want to smack somebody into math and take away the pigskin while we're doing it, all right? So I had a lot of fun scoring a lot of points here for a long time. It was very nice, and maybe we'll get back to that at some point. But this year for the Mountaineers, it's not about how many points you can score. It's about how many you can keep your opponent from scoring. And Robert Morris, they'll get 6 points this week, something like that.
I think I speak for Jed and I when I say I think we probably wouldn't mind y'all winning this week.
I hope we're last. That's right.
I'm gonna go with the Mountaineers too. Like we said, shut the door, get a couple takeaways, start off a new culture in that defensive room. Give me WVU as my defense of the week.
Like it.
And gentlemen, I do believe that will do it for us today, if I am correct. So, couple more reminders. Phil Steele Friday coming up, right back at you, beginning here to lead you into we got Texas and Ohio State. We got Clemson and LSU. We got some big already playoff ramification games early on here in the season. So make sure you're checking out Phil Steele Friday. And a reminder, Peach Lot, WVU Grateful Dead flag, in the gun flag. Runaway beer truck loggers here, and some BBQ as well too, as we will kick off what will hopefully be the start of a memorable season and the start of another memorable era for Mountaineer football. But that'll do it for this edition of ITG. Make sure you get those predictions in as well, too, on our YouTube page in the comments, and give yourself a chance to win that awesome helmet that our new friends at the Book Exchange have so kindly given us to give away this season. For the co-host, the producer, Mr. Do-It-All, Schuyler Callihan, the signal caller, check him out on the sidelines on Saturday, Jed Drenning, and, of course, the beer truck and barbecue man himself, Big Owen Schmitt. I am Wes Uhler. The one thing we ask of you is to be an ear and tell an ear about your new favorite WVU football podcast. Take care, everybody. Maybe we'll see you Saturday, but if not, we'll talk to you soon. As always, you've been in the gun.
ITG.
The fun doesn't have to stop here.
Be sure to hit subscribe and never miss an episode.
If you have any questions, suggestions, or feedback,
be sure to follow us on X at In the Gun Podcast.
Join us again next time.
Until then,
tell an ear to tell an ear about your new favorite WVU football podcast.
This mission is over. It's over.